Hey, welcome back to the Oz Shift podcast. As always, I'm your host, Anthony Trucks. And today we got someone who is, they're a force in the world. Our guest today is Maria Menounos. Now, Maria's been on so many things that it's literally hard to list these things. From WWE, she's hosted a TV show on E! She fills in for Kelly Ripa. Like, she does all these crazy cool things. She's been on a recent show that I love to watch. It was by Mike Myers. It was called The Pentaverate, which she was just cool, like, host on the screen. All these things to say, this is a person who comes from a cool walk of life. But here's the interesting part of it all. They got this massive heart to serve. Like, her heart it's huge in terms of what she does in the world. And it's because she's gone through things like had a huge scare of an actual tumor, having issues with her family, having issues in her career, like all these things that went crazy. But she's always stood on her feet and stood back up and managed to create something amazing and cool. And so today you're going to hear all about that, as well as some new things she has come in the works, including one it being a movie, which is pretty awesome, and kind of a readjustment of her podcast that I've actually been a blast to be on. So today's episode is going to be one where you get to hear this amazing human talk about some cool things. Also, as always, make sure you go to magicmind.co/shift or go to magicmind.co and use the code AWShift, AWW Shift, to get a discount on a product that I believe has honestly changed the way that I function and operate in an amazing way. It allows my brain to be dialed, to be focused, to show up the way I am for you right now, and think at a level that allows me to, we'll just call it, be the best I can be. Because in a world of what I do, I use my brain, as do you. And if you want to have something that's all natural, not caffeine ridden, it's just very natural supplement that can do that for you, you got to check it out. Again, magicmind.co/shift or magicmind.co. Use the code AWShift, AWW Shift, and it gives you the chance to take this product, see how great it is, and hopefully get you back focused, dialed in, and getting a whole lot of things moving so you can make shift happen in your life. So that's it. Let's get into the episode today. Hey, everybody. I've already introduced you, our amazing guest. I'm excited to have him on. It's funny, whenever you go to research somebody, you start like looking at the things and you don't actually comprehend the depth of somebody's awesomeness until you take a look at their Wikipedia and you have to scroll like 17 pages down to see all the cool stuff they did. So, Maria, I'm genuinely excited to chat with you. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. I've been on your show. You're an awesome host, a warm human. You got a huge heart, a bright smile. I got to meet you for the first time in person in Napa. Might have been like last year, the year before.
Yeah, I think it was the year before.
Yeah, it was crazy. But here's the question I start with. Every episode I do this. You can take the question anywhere you choose, but it for some reason opens things up. Here's the question. I'm walking around town. I sat in a coffee shop. There's this beautiful woman sitting next to me. It's you. I do not know you. For some reason, you feel compelled to talk to me. In your opinion, why should I listen to you?
Well, I think I am genuinely fun and full of information, and I've done a lot of research and homework and studied. So whether I'm talking about animals, which will usually be the entree,
Interesting.
The entry point,
yeah.
Or we get into health, I definitely know a thing or two about all of that.
Beautiful. And you have, I mean, there's a depth of things that you know. I'm sitting here going, I don't know what you probably couldn't talk to, from actress to like WWE wrestling. It's funny. My wife and my daughter are avid fans of The Challenge. And so whenever we're watching The Challenge reunion, I'm like, holy crap, I know her. Like, you're everywhere. I look at those moments and I go, there is such a background to that to get there that probably would take you hours to unravel it. So without going hours deep, can you share with us, like, where did the first, I guess, inkling start of like, this is a world I could step into of TV and acting and everything, podcasting, radio, all these things you do?
Well, I had been dreaming probably since I was 13 of moving to LA and doing all of this. And all of this was a lot of things, right? It was really being fascinated by watching TV hosts or actors or journalists. I really loved all of it. And I remember I would tell my dad that, my strict Greek immigrant dad and my mom, who's also a Greek immigrant, I'm going to move to LA someday. And he would grab my ponytail and he'd be like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
No, you're not. And so I knew pretty quickly they were very strict that I wasn't going to get to do some of the things I wanted. Like they were really scared about modeling and acting and all of that. But I really loved the morning news. I loved watching Joan London on Good Morning America. And so I pursued journalism and broadcast journalism and studied it at Emerson College. And I knew that once I kind of got in there, I could, do a little of everything else. By then I'd be of age to make my own decisions in life.
Yeah.
So I could sneak some things past the goalie later. And that's really what happened. I started in journalism in college, studying that. I met my husband now.
Kevin.
While there, worked on his movie, produced it, and then got the film bug. And my first job was in broadcast journalism. And from there, everything just started kind of happening. And, then I got to act in the Fantastic Four or One Tree Hill. And I got to do a little bit of everything, which was always the goal. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to start somewhere. And it's interesting because I think whenever we do cool things in life, because we know like we've done, because you're obviously way past that entry point. I'm sure at that moment it was difficult, but at this level, it's like, it was just that was like Tuesday morning. I could do that. No problem. Can you take us back to that initial part of like you stepping out, like first day, here's the mic, let's go to work. Cause everybody has those visions of like, I want to go do this. And not everybody goes to LA and has the success you have, as we all know.
Yeah.
But what was that first moment of like, was your heart racing? Was it this palpitation? Did you feel afraid? Like, how did you approach the first moment?
Well, I'll take you back to the first moment. I had a mic in my hand, and that was at South by Southwest. We were there with my husband's first movie. Okay. And there was a camera and a guy with a microphone. I just grabbed the microphone from him and I started doing like quick interviews and pretending like I was the host. And it was kind of funny because I was like, oh, I can kind of do this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
At that point, I'd been hosting the school or anchoring the school news and had won the Evie Award instead of the Emmy, the Evie for the best broadcaster at Emerson, which was my freshman year, which hadn't been done at that time. And so, that kind of reporting I hadn't done, and that was kind of fun. And then soon after, I got my first job at Channel One News, being an anchor. And second, I landed in Los Angeles and made my first big move cross country, July 10th, 2001, maybe. Yeah, it was 2001. Yeah, 2001. I get to my executive producer's office and he's like, hey, nice to meet you. You're getting on a plane. You're going to DC and you're going to interview Lars Ulrich from Metallica.
That fast, huh?
What? Hello, and get on a plane. And I'm like, and I knew then that I was going to have to be able to like move and shift and like just go with the flow. So I got on a plane. I interviewed Lars Ulrich. It was during the Napster drama back then.
I remember. Yeah. I got in trouble in college for downloading music. For sure did.
Yeah. And I remember being nervous because Metallica, oh my God, I used to headbang to it. Like in my bedroom, I was obsessed with Metallica. And here I am interviewing him for my first real interview. Wow. I don't know what I'm doing technically, but I know that I'm going to follow my curiosity. And I know that we have an agenda of things that we want to talk to him about. And so I just did it. I always say, like, you got to just Nike it. You just got to
just do it. You do got to lean in. It's funny as my daughter's kind of the same way. She'll jump in and do stuff. It's weird. My wife goes, how does she do it? And part of me goes, because I know that in her head or heart, she has to know that there's a safety net in the family, in her friends and support. Did you have that safety net? Is that part of what you think? Maybe because if you got loving parents, like I feel like there's always that I can go out here and mess it up, but I still got a place to go. Does that ring with you?
See, I felt like I had no safety net, even though I did, even though I had parents. My parents were immigrants. They were janitors. Yeah. They were struggling to keep food on the table and keep us going. So I knew that I had to make it for all of us. Okay. It was a different kind of thing for me. I didn't have anybody that was going to help me. I remember actually at that time, my dad had disowned me for dating Kevin because he wasn't Greek.
Really?
I had a very strong vision for me. I was supposed to marry someone Greek and Kevin was not. And so I was disowned. My dad wouldn't finish paying for my college. And I had even gone to my uncle at the time, who was very, wealthy in the family. And he said no. I asked him to help me so I could finish my last year at Emerson.
Oh.
And he said no because he was taking my dad's side.
Huh.
And I went and I enrolled in a local community college to try and keep taking classes. And I ended up getting my job in the meantime, and poof, it all happened from there.
Gee, Manise. You know what I like the most is that you are such a bright human, but you're navigating just by the words, emotions, and moments. And I'm like, a lot of people, myself included, would be like, I don't know if I can hang in there like this. Like what you did it with what seems like grace and joy. And these are, I mean, you're also operating in a really tough world. So I did the professional football world. It's cutthroat. No one cares about your feelings or what's going on. Do the job or get out of here. How did you have the strength to navigate that? Like when most people literally get crushed by it all?
It was not easy. I did get crushed at times, and I definitely worked in real toxic environments, which I think, there's no coincidence why, I ended up getting, a brain tumor and ultimately, leaving all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think having Kevin was really huge and really important because he was everything. He filled every role in my life that I needed. He was a protector. He was 10 years older than me, so he was wiser. He had seen things. He had been in the business for some time before me, so he could help me navigate. We still made tons of mistakes, but at least he knew better than my parents, who would have no idea, right?
Yeah.
My parents never worked in an office. I didn't know office politics. Do you know how many mistakes I made where I would CC? So I'll never forget, I worked at the Today Show. Jeff Zucker was the child prodigy executive producer of the Today Show. Then he took over and ran all of NBC. And he was the one who brought me there. But he's the big guy.
Yeah.
And so he says to me, I've never told the story, but he says to me, when you are doing stuff, CC me. I want to keep in the loop. Okay. So I pitched a story to my executive producer at the time. I didn't know he hated the big boss, and they had some tension. And I CC'd him, and my executive producer hated me from that moment on.
Really? Oh.
Because I screwed up, but I didn't know I screwed up. There's so many things that I'm like, I mean, I've worked on a sausage stand. I've worked in a Greek restaurant. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts. My parents and I clean nightclubs. I have zero office politics knowledge or any of that. And so it bit me in the ass a few times. But yeah, I think having Kevin really helped me so much because it helped me kind of not get wrapped up in a lot of things, right? I would have been potentially dating all kinds of people out here, and God only knows what could have happened in those realms and situations. So I think, I owe a lot to Kevin.
That's cool. And I love that because I'm married. I have my wife. We go back to 16 years old, and there was something to having a dialed in, anchored relationship. Now I don't know about you, we went through a really bad hiatus. We're divorced for 3 years, which about, and then we came back together. Did you guys ever have we'll call it the iron sharpens iron, the hardening of the marriage at some point?
No, we had a trauma bond. We both had really tough certain family member situations. Yeah. And we just kind of were, a psychic friend of ours was like, you guys were like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Backs against each other, about just protecting each other and taking care of each other. So we have.
That's super cool because he is involved in a lot of stuff, and I've had a chance to be on his podcast as well. And he's a great human being. And what's interesting is there are a lot of people who have oddly reached out to me separate. I knew Kevin back when he was here and here and here, and he's a great guy. And it's to know someone operates in that world and knowing that there are people that feel compelled to reach out to tell you how great he is. I'm like, it's pretty cool, man. The solid human being, and he's always offered to help me, and he's never fallen short when I've asked a question. So you got a good one there.
I do.
It's beautiful. So I do want to go because there's a lot of things you navigate, right? The tumor, the leaving of the industry. You now are in a space, and I'd love you to go back and tell me what that journey was through that leaving and coming back. That's now pushed you in the realm of where you have an amazing podcast. And I'd like you to kind of talk about that, and then I want you to unpack kind of what the podcast is, because I like the concept. I think it's necessary for our world. And because you've gone through so much, you have such a unique eye for things that people wouldn't even experience and or see the way you do.
Thank you. Yeah, my mom was diagnosed with a brain tumor in September 2016, and hers was called glioblastoma, stage 4 brain cancer. And then months later, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor as well. It was called a meningioma.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a really tough, journey to get through all of that. After surgery, I remember waking up and kind of just, when you're faced with something like that, a lot flashes before your eyes. And you realize a lot about how you've been living your life, what's worked, what hasn't worked, why you're even doing things that you didn't even want to be doing anymore. Sometimes you're trapped in old dreams. And it was kind of a moment to reassess. And so I knew I was going to have a recovery road ahead of me. And so I was able to maintain my Sirius XM radio show at the time because I had my studio here on my property, thanks to Kevin. And so I was able to keep doing that. But I started realizing that I wanted to do things that were meaningful or fun. And if it didn't fill those buckets, the in-between stuff, just kind of had to go. And I started my podcast as a companion to my Sirius XM show because I really wanted to dive deeper into health and get the answers I needed to help heal my mom. My mom was my number one focus. How do I keep her alive? How do I keep her having good quality of life? And so once a week, I would do this show called Better Together. And I would get such helpful information. And it really was just pivotal to both of our journeys, whether it was mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health. And we needed a lot of help in those departments at that time. And then COVID hit. And I was like, I need to be with people. And so I had always planned to take the show to a daily show and make it a daily experience. To me, it was my version of a Today Show or a Good Morning America.
Yeah, I got you.
But with, the info we kind of want in a different way in this generation. So I went every day thinking it was going to be like a week, and then COVID never stopped, as we all know. And so I've been doing it and refining it and working on it. But I am so obsessed with what I get to do because every day I'm bringing in somebody who has extraordinary knowledge and information that helps empower us to be better every single day. Better in our health, better in our relationships, better in our finances. It's called it was called Better Together with Maria Menounos, and then 1,000 Better Togethers popped up, and Better Together has become the flagship tagline, whether it's for Starbucks or I go into Sephora, they use my actual font and they say, let's beauty together. Everybody was doing it. So I was like, okay.
Gotta change it.
So we officially have changed it to Heal Squad by Maria Menounos because we've all kind of called ourselves part of this Heal Squad. And I always invite people to come be a part of the Heal Squad because there's no one out there or there's no real show that's really helping people. Dr. Oz was great because he would give us things and my mom would always take notes and stuff. But how do we have kind of tangible, everyday advice on how to tackle all these things and to get better? And so, whether it's anxiety tips from Dr. Eamon, who's a renowned brain expert, saying, down both sides of the brain by doing, the rubbing of the hands or the rubbing of the shoulders. I had someone on the show today talking about skincare and how, so many things. Dry shampoo. Women use dry shampoo.
All the time. My wife does.
Right? Okay. Well, a lot of it has this product called benzene in it, or corn flour, starchy stuff. And it clogs in here and it thins your hair. So the very product you're using to, clean your hair and then maybe get a little volume is actually taking your volume down. So every day we're learning, every day we're getting better. Every day I'm implementing something in my life. We had Elisa Vitti, she's a hormone expert on the show. She taught us how to eat. And so that the endocrine system can work. She's like, most people wake up and they drink their coffee and then they have a muffin or a bagel, and the endocrine system is like, what the F is going on in here? And it's like almost like an internal war to try to like get the insulin levels right and the pancreas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's like, if you eat vegetables first, then your protein and carbs, then your protein and fat, and then your carbs, there's a layering effect in your system that gives the whole body time to assess what's going on and release the proper mechanisms in there to do the job calmly rather than under duress. Now, if you think about it, just like, listen, I have like common sense, right? So I said to her, I'm like, so basically we can either be at war all the time or we can be calm. Okay. So what is war inside the body? Well, ultimately that leads to autoimmune issues like the thyroid
inflammation.
and then the thyroid condition comes, another autoimmune condition and then another autoimmune condition. So people aren't teaching us these things. Like, how do we eat in the right way, right? We know we're supposed to eat well, but we don't know why. But when she explained the war going on inside and the insulin having to be released to take down the glucose, I was like, oh my God, I get it now. I really get it.
I like that. It actually makes it applicable. You can actually take the information you're learning and do, because my wife every day, we have the athletic greens. She's big on taking her greens in the morning. Then from there, I'm a protein guy too. I have like my protein on me, but I'm listening to this going, oh, I can maybe adjust some things myself and throw it in there.
I start my morning. If I'm like this morning, I ate my coconut yogurt. Do you know what I ate before? I made a romaine lettuce boat with chopped veggies. I ate that. I waited a few minutes and then I went to my coconut yogurt with my flaxseed and chia seed, my walnuts. Because every morning and every meal, I will eat vegetables first and I will create that layering effect because I know that that's what's going to calm my endocrine system down. And I have autoimmune stuff that I have to deal with like most people, but we're all taught that that's normal. The other thing that's super important and like a huge passion of mine, and that's why I love this show so much, is shining a light on the medical system, because it is one of those things that unfortunately we've been conditioned to believe that we should just rush to any doctor, lay our trust in their care, and think that they have all the solutions. And if I was the coach of your team, would I put a quarterback in the defensive position? No. Am I putting a defensive player in the offensive position? No. Am I making Tom Brady the kicker on my team all of a sudden? I mean, there's some trick plays once in a while, sure.
But no. Not at all.
So we need to know what the medical care system is good at and where they're weak and use everybody for what they are. I love Western medicine and I love Eastern medicine, but I know what positions everyone's playing in my life. I know that Western is emergency and they're diagnostic and they can bridge a gap for me if I'm diagnosed with something till I can get over here and think, how can I heal myself naturally and wean myself off of these medications that are now creating all these other side effects and these other things, right? Like I'm looking at it from that perspective and it's changing my life. It's changing my health.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know that. Everybody needs to know that. Dr. Christy Funk was on my show. She's the top breast cancer surgeon in the country. She performed Angelina Jolie's, I think, double mastectomy. Okay. She's like, Maria, let me tell it to you straight. She goes, we have 15 minutes with you. And in that 15 minutes, not only do I have to provide you with a very thorough exam, I have to do all the paperwork. By the time I'm done, I'm rushing out the door and you are begging me for information like, what should I eat? But I didn't do nutrition in school, so I don't know what to tell you. She's like, I actually gave people bad information just based on what I thought. And then she went and did years of research to write a book so that she could help people because she realized how flawed it is. The other guy I just had on the show, Zach Bush, who's one of the only triple board certified doctors in the country, was like, I went to medical school thinking I was going to heal people. And then I realized I was a pharmacist. He's
I get it.
Got out of it. And he's like, why are doctors the #1 suicide rate? And if you think about it, we go to the doctor thinking, heal me.
Yeah.
You on the other side have now figured out you don't know how to really heal me.
So that's interesting. That's crazy.
So these are the things that we're talking about. And in the most respectful of ways, we're not being about anything, it's like, let's all really open our eyes to what's out there,
Yeah.
and know that there's no organization that's going to really have your best interests at heart like you are,
Not at
right?
all. No, and you got to
So
gather information to know what to do.
there are organizations that, manage like skincare products.
Mhm.
Well, are they still putting damaging carcinogenic things in skincare? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I just found out today that spices, I wrote it on my wrist because I have to go now do the research to figure out what I'm going to put out of my spice cabinet.
Yeah.
They contain arsenic and lead and so many horrible things. And the ones found at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and this other brand, Consumer Reports, wrote this whole article about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So we're doing this every single day in a very non-overwhelming way, but so that we can get better, we can keep implementing little habits into our lives that make us healthier, happier, and better.
I think that's the whole point too. At the end of the day, I mean, like, it's funny. I think as we get older, my wife and I, that's the big focus is like, we have kids. I got an oldest, he's in college. I got twins that are 13. And my whole goal is, how do I stay around as long as humanly possible? Right. How do I take care of myself, take care of my body, take care of my mind, all these kind of things. And while you can go and find different places, there aren't a bunch of trusted sources to find information or details. So I love that you're doing this. My brain goes to, how do you prompt yourself to find these people? Like, is this something out of your own human curiosity?
Yes.
Or is it just, it's what it is? That's what I like to hear.
It's a lot of human curiosity. Yeah. And no one's being pitched. We're going after.
Nice.
People are pitching now when they know what we're doing, but we go really rigid on who we bring in. And listen, I may make a mistake at some point, but I'm really, really protective of who I bring in because I know people trust me and I want to honor that. So, I've been really curious about hormones. I'm like, okay, I'm 44. Things are going to start happening. I better start getting ahead of the curve. So then we have Elisa Vitti on, and she teaches us that, our cycles as women, we need to understand where we are because certain days we're not supposed to work out with weights. Certain days we're not supposed to do cardio. Certain days we're supposed to eat certain things to work with our cycle, not against our cycle. So for the ladies who are at the gym doing the same things every day, and there's some days when you're just so tired and you don't know why, or there's some days you're so hungry you don't know why. It's because you're not in sync with your cycle. You don't know, because all the research out there in the world on health is done on men. They have not done
a lot of information on us.
There's a ton on you guys. They don't have it on us. So that's why I find what I do so fun and so amazing. And yes, I didn't fully leave TV. I still play in TV and I still do stuff. But building this is definitely a super passion of mine.
I like that. I like the ideas. Because I always listen to the person like yourself, and my head goes to like a natural curiosity. It's how I run this whole podcast. What does my head and my heart kind of feel? And my brain goes to, you've lived a life of almost, it feels like, I'm curious what I want to, and you just kind of dive into it. Like it seems like it's turned into such an amazing overall life to where there'll be people later on who want to sit and listen to you talk about the crazy stories of your life. And they're like, this is real. You know what I mean? Like that's real. So how did you learn to lead with curiosity and create for the world from that?
I don't know if it was something I learned or if it was just kind of me, right? I'm a curious person. And I think that's what's made me a good journalist and a good interviewer, because I'm not going to be somebody who's stuck to my notes. I've always just gone with my flow of where I feel most interested. So I do all my research. I get prepared like you are. You're not reading from notes. You're going off your kind of where the conversation's going. And that was always my instinct. And I always know that, I mean, for me, it's like, I know if I'm interested, someone else is going to be interested. So I don't have to worry about, algorithms and whatever. I'm like, okay, like people are going to find it. The right people who want it are going to find it.
I like that. I think if you're doing it genuinely for that purpose too, it is like, if you tap into the human aspect of you're human like every other human is, and you just kind of lean into it. And that is something I think that takes a free flow, which is pretty cool, because that free flow allows you to kind of play out of the box and do things that other people will be like, I couldn't do that, but I love that she can. And they look up to you. And what's also cool is you've gone an entire career and always been awesome. Like I went and I was like, where can we find, is there any like craziness? Like there's no crazy, like you've just been completely transparently awesome from what I can see. Not that I'm looking, but I think there is something to living a life where I feel comfortable saying, hey, my daughter I have, like, this is a person you should look up to. Like that
Wow.
is it's a hard thing for me because I yeah, well, it should be because you've earned it. I know what it's like to live in integrity and do good things and then continue to build and be great for yourself and then give it to the world. So I appreciate that. And you do that in more ways than what we even talked about. Because before we got on, we were talking about a movie coming out. And so that's
Yeah.
pretty cool because I'm like, oh, she's still acting. And I'm not going to lie, I did watch is it the Pentaverse or Pentaverse?
Oh yeah.
The Pentaveret. The Pentaveret. I watched the whole thing. It was like so I like the guy that Mike Myers on there, like he just the way he can play the characters and the weaving in of it. I was like this. I was enamored by it. I was watching it. I'm not gonna lie. At one point, I put it to the side of my car when I was driving. I listened to it more than I watched, but it was just like I couldn't not like watch it. It was cool, but I also felt good because I knew you. I was like, I know
Yeah.
this person. Here she is popping up on the screen doing stuff. So all that aside, can you please unpack the new movie you have coming out and all the details that are cool about that?
Yeah, it's called the Holiday Dating Guide. So I had on my bucket list for 2021. I remember like doing a vision board, and on my list under acting was Christmas movie.
Hmm.
And I didn't do anything about it. I just had it there because my mom was passing that year. It was a really rough time.
Yeah.
But I had edited this little YouTube video called Mom, Dad, COVID, and Me because my parents had just gone through COVID.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving of 2020. And I did this little video. It's like a short documentary about the experience because I had a caretake for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this friend of mine named Ryan McParlin, he's an actor, had seen the video and sent me the longest, most beautiful letter about his feelings after seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, like a guy who just watched this and just had all these moving things to say about how it's going to change his relationship with his parents moving forward. And anyhow, we got to talking, and then moments later, it was like, we're shooting a Christmas movie in Connecticut. I'm like, wait, you guys are shooting 20 minutes from my house. So I ended up playing his sister
Wow.
last summer or last year in that movie. And that came out. And then this summer, or earlier, it was funny, earlier in the year, my husband goes, how come you're not campaigning for another Christmas movie? I go, I don't know. I'm here if they want to do something. Yeah. And so director of the last one calls me this summer and says, hey, I have a movie and I really want you to be the star of it. And so here I am now starring in The Holiday Dating Guide. It will air December 17th on Lifetime. And it's my first starring role. I was terrified because I didn't realize I was so busy preparing for the movie because I also executive produce it. Yeah. And doing all the wardrobe and, you know, helping with some rewrite stuff and whatever. I had no idea until the day I got to set or the night before I got to set. I go, oh my God, I'm starring in a movie. I don't know what the F I'm doing. How am I going to do this? And I'm starting to panic and I'm starting to get really nervous.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why, but one of my favorite Christmas movies is Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Have you seen it? The animated one?
Oh yeah. It's old school. That's like one everybody has to watch.
You know, the point when he goes, just put one foot in front of the other.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That song came into my head and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're just going to do tomorrow. And then we'll see how it goes. And then if they still like you, you'll come back the next day and you'll do it again. And so it was funny that another Christmas movie inspired me in that moment, but had the best time. It's so much fun.
I like it. That's beautiful. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have a weird little backdoor thing for me that when I turn 40, which is coming up this next year, that I want to just randomly try my hand at acting. I go the course of getting acting, classes and learn the talent. For some reason, it intrigues me, like curiosity wise. Like, what would it be like to just try to be in a movie one time? Like, if I'm here and I don't mind doing it, I might see whatever I'm figured out. I can try. So I'm gonna try my hand at some acting stuff. I don't know what it'll be, but lean into it, figure out what it does. So what is kind of you're a ball of things, experiences and information and ways you give back are amazing. When you look forward, and this is like we'll call it a generic question, but my heart goes, what do you look at a year from now and go, I've done this? Like what is still on the list for Maria Menounos that you have not done? Because there's so many things you've done. I
want to build product. And so I haven't done that yet. And I wanted to, and I've tried at different times to get stuff off the ground. So right now my goal is I have a lot of kind of ideas for things that aren't out there that I really want. 2 of them I gave away to the interviewer, to the interview subject I had today. I was like, you need to build this because I know you are uniquely positioned to do this. Go. And she's like,
Get it done, yeah.
the product we all need, just go for it. But yeah, I want to build product. I like creating, and I want to be able to be more creative. And so I like creating solutions to problems that people have, whether it's in, women's lives or people's lives in health or whatever. So I have a lot of different things I want to do. So I'm going to start tackling that in 2023.
I like that. And then there's a lot of things I hear in here, which is for other people. Where did the care for other people come in so deeply? Because I'm not gonna lie, most of we'll call it the people that we look at on we'll call it the silver screen doing their stuff. There's this mentality of like, self-centered, about themselves, does it. But I never have got that from you. Like, is it a way you were brought up, a way you think? Because there's something of you that has accomplished so much, but you don't have this self-centered persona. I'm not trying to pump your head up, by the way. I don't care to do that. I just read it as it is. But where did the massive care to like create for the rest of the world come from?
I've always had it in me. I've always, I think when you grow up, and you will understand this, when you grow up with less, or if you grow up with hard times, or for example, my dad was such a severe type 1 diabetic. He almost died all the time. Like caring, I had to care for him. And I just feel like I always have thought about life, like of things I wish people would have done for us.
Yeah.
And not to say that people didn't help us, because people did, but I always wanted to help people because I knew what it was like to need help. And to wish that somebody like would just show up with just $20, just $20 would just change my life right now. So I live to do that now, whether it's buying people's food behind me or whatever it is, it makes me so happy. But Oprah was another big inspiration because I watched her do things that helped people. I watched Joan London genuinely care about what she did and the stories she told. So for me, it was always, let me tell the stories that are going to help people. And how can I help more? That's always been in my kind of DNA. And I never realized it officially until like the last couple of years, when I look back at the DNA of everything I've done and how that was always kind of at the center of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. I will say though, there are a lot of wonderful people in our business. The thing that we see most though, is we do see the level of focus it requires to succeed on these high levels. Makes it so that might be shut off for people for a little bit.
I see that.
And then when they get to a place where they can, most people do.
That makes sense. Yeah, because when you operate as something, it's like a broad world scale of view. There's a lot that goes into it. I can only relate to my time playing in the NFL and that level of just climbing up the ladder. And you've obviously been multiple levels of different places, but there is something to where everything matters, a microscope on it all, and you can't mess it up. And, and there's just like a lot of pressure and a lot of tension to it. But once you learn to kind of settle into it, it's like you get to be, you can dive around, and then you're more open, like, okay, let's do the rest of it and serve at a high level. So that does make a logical sense to me. And it's cool that you got to that point where you can do that. Yeah, it's been a fun conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you. And I know you're a busy human, so I do appreciate every single moment that you've been able to come and share and hang out. So we're going to do 3 things. First thing is, where should I send people to listen to the podcast?
Okay, it's called Heal Squad by Maria Menounos. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're also video, so you can watch us on YouTube. And Instagram is the same title, Heal Squad by Maria Menounos, by meaning the X. And yeah.
Cool. Second question, where and when, which I think we already kind of know, is Lifetime on the 16th is the movie, correct?
The 17th on
17th.
Lifetime.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think it'll probably be like 7 or 8 p.m. It's called The Holiday Dating Guide, where I am a dating coach who kind of bumps her way into, and their rules don't always apply.
I like that. I like it. And she gave me a little bit of a rundown of it, and it's very intriguing. I'm not gonna spoil it though. I'm gonna make sure it comes out and everybody goes and watch it. But do go watch it. I'm gonna tell my wife about it, and she's a fan, so she'll watch with me. Uh, Third question is the last question I always end on. Again, you can answer however you choose to answer, but here is the question. I don't even know what your answer is going to be because there's so many things you do, but here it is. What promise did God make to the world when he created you?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God, why does that give me such a guttural reaction so fast? Do people cry
Yeah.
when you say that?
Mhm.
Holy shit. Wow, I have no idea other than, okay, I do. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Um, ooh, wow. Promise to God make. Okay. This could go so many different ways, as you know, but I do know that in the last few years, I know my purpose is to help people. So I know that he put me here to help people.
Yeah.
But I think that also very uniquely has put me in a position where I am learning that I'm a healer and I can heal anything that comes my way,
Mhm.
and that I will then be able to share these new territories I'm kind of forging in health on myself with others. So I'm working diligently every single day to heal myself of things that they say you can't necessarily heal from. And I'm having great success. And I cannot wait till it's all finalized
Mhm.
in the actual like black and white paper.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that that is my unique mission, is to show people that there is a way where you don't think there is.
I like that. It's beautiful. I mean, I think the thing is I'm glad that it resonated with you because I mean, anytime I have people hear that and they hit that, it's because at some point prior to this moment, you already felt that was being kind of pulled to you, like you're supposed to do something more. And and I give you kudos because you fought through an amazingly cool life to create things that were given as opportunities where some people would look at what they had in front of them like you and they wouldn't step up, they wouldn't work as hard, and they kind of stumbled down. But you've climbed a plethora of mountains to get to a point where you have something of value to give to the world. So kudos to you for taking advantage of life, taking it by the horns, building something cool, but then also giving it back. And finding out still what you're supposed to be doing. That's super
Yeah.
cool. It's like an unfinished project for you. And I love it. So thank you seriously again for hanging out with us. Those of you who are tuned in, go and find all this stuff. Go to the links, go listen to the podcast, go watch the movie. Make sure you hang out. Also, if this episode in some way resonated, go and share it with someone who needs to hear these words. Because sometimes we're too close to reach people, but your words, meaning Maria's words, can actually get in there in ways that yours can't. So do that. Outside of that, as always, make the most of your awe shift moments so you can make shift happen. It's Anthony Trucks and Maria Menounos signing off. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Awe Shift podcast. I pray that we gave something amazing to your life. And if you found this episode served you in some way, I would love if you could share it with people you know, people you love, as well as your community, because you never know who needs that simple little seed that can grow into something amazing for their life. And the actual training doesn't stop here. If you want your free copy of the show notes sent to you after every episode so you can get the major points consolidated down, simply go to textanthony.com and message the word notes. Till next time, make shift happen.